Welcome back, Focus Learners. So glad you're here for this explainer. Today, we're embarking on, honestly, a truly profound journey of personal awakening. We're going to dive deep into the incredibly transformative concepts laid out in Perez Onika's text, 10 Years Late, Right on Time. Look, if you've ever felt like you're just kind of going through the motions, like you're following a script that you definitely didn't write, well, you are in exactly the right place. Let's explore Anika's roadmap for stepping out of the shadows and taking absolute control of your reality.
Okay, let's dive into this. Are you a player or just a piece in the game? It's a pretty direct challenge to how we exist, right? Onika asks us to take a really hard look at our lives. Are we actually creating our own game? Or are we just, bound to be playing pieces? Because it is so incredibly easy to just wake up, go to work, pay the bills, rinse and repeat, without ever stopping to question who is actually moving us around the board.
It's a wild way to think about it, but imagine you're literally a chess piece that's just been plunked down on a square. You just lay there, heartless, motionless. Essentially, you're trapped in this void in space. You have no idea what to do, no idea how to move, so you just sit there, day in and day out, passively waiting for someone else's hand to come along and move you. Maybe that hand is a boss, or society, or the economy. You just wait for them to move you so you can finally feel alive again. But Onika argues that this feeling, this little glimpse of illumination when someone else moves you, it's a massive trap. We just completely forget who we actually are.
Waking up, starting with the mirror.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly how we escape that void. Well, Onika points out a massive trap we all kind of fall into, which is external projection. Think about it. We all start out wanting to change the whole world, right? But then, the world seems way too big, so we scale it down. We try to change our continent, then our country, then maybe our local town, and finally, we're just trying to change our family. But every single one of those external dreams, they eventually go right down the drain. And why is that? It's because we skip the absolutely crucial foundational step. After trying to fix everyone else, you're left with absolutely zero options but to finally face the mirror. And as Onika writes, you realize you should probably thank God the mirror can't laugh at you. True awakening only starts when you realize there is literally nothing external to change until you change the person reflecting back at you. It's a super tough pill to swallow, but it is the only real starting line.
The power of knowledge, escaping the brute force trap. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how Onika uses a fascinating parable to show us how to master our environment. Imagine a village where the water source is completely dried up. We see two guys approach this exact same massive problem in totally opposite ways. So on the left, we've got Jamel. He acts fast. He goes out, buys drums and wheelbarrows, hires a bunch of strong guys, and just starts hauling water every single day through sheer brute force. And hey, the village completely celebrates him. But then look over on the right. We have Opendo. Opendo actually leaves the village. He leaves his family behind to travel, to study, to hire engineers, to actually understand the mechanics of water. For months, people forget about him or they literally mock him. But when he finally comes back, he doesn't bring more wheelbarrows. Nope, he builds trenches. He lays pipes, and with the turn of a single tap, water gushes directly to the king's feet.
The lesson here is absolutely profound. Look, the world definitely needs Jamel's hard work in the short term, but Jamel's method, it requires endless, exhausting labor forever. Opendo's pursuit of knowledge, on the other hand, ultimately brought lasting peace and wealth to the entire village. It even allowed Jamel to retire a rich man. The takeaway is that just knowing things isn't enough. You have to actively apply that knowledge. Just like Opendo, you've got to step back, sharpen your axe, and actually build a system that works for you automatically, rather than against you. So ask yourself right now, what wheelbarrow are you currently pushing that you really should be building a pipe for instead?
Escaping society's chains. Now, stepping out of that wheelbarrow line, yeah, that is not going to be easy. Onika paints this incredibly vivid, almost dystopian picture of what we're actually up against here. He describes humanity as being slaved with chains, marching completely erect in this singular, endless line, summoned by absolutely nothing but consumption. The cock crows and boom, off we are to the line. He even writes about these guards of life, standing by with long, thorned whips, just waiting to strike down anyone who tries to step out and take a different direction. It's a really powerful metaphor for how the systems all around us are basically designed to keep the weak enslaved to this cycle of endless competition and mindless consumption. And breaking out of that line, it is going to hurt. The path to freedom is absolutely, for sure, not paved with gold. Onika warns us that the second you try to escape, those guards, they turn on the hidden traps.
Your own body and mind are going to fight against you. You'll be exhausted every single day. The whips will tear through the air. And honestly, a lot of people who start this journey will just turn back. They'll get right back in line because the pain of breaking out is just unbearable. But listen, if you want to reach what Onika calls the springs of freedom, you absolutely have to push through that self-doubt. You have to endure the traps. You have to just keep going when literally everyone else gives up.
Prioritizing what truly matters. The philosophy jar. So the crucial point is, once you've actually broken away, how do you make sure you don't just, fall into a totally different kind of trap? Onika brings up the classic professor's jar parable to help us visualize exactly how to structure our newly awakened lives. Picture a professor standing in front of his class with an empty glass jar. That jar represents your life. First, he fills it right up to the top with golf balls. These are the absolutely crucial things: your family, your health, your deepest passions. Even if you lost everything else, if you have the golf balls, your life is still completely full. Next, he tosses in some pebbles, and they roll into the open spaces. The pebbles are things like your job, your house, your car. Then he pours in sand, which just fills up all those tiny remaining gaps. The sand, that's the small stuff: cutting the grass, taking out the trash. Finally, he pours in 2 beers, filling the absolute last little bit of space. Now, who knew beer was a foundational life priority, right? But really, the whole shebang just shows that no matter how full your life is, there's always room for a drink with a friend. This quote right here really hammers home the ultimate lesson of the jar. What happens if you pour the sand into the jar first? Think about it. There is literally 0 room left for the golf balls or the pebbles. If you let society's endless demands, the doom scrolling, the minor everyday stresses, the overflowing email inboxes, all that trivial consumption, if you let all that sand fill up your time and energy first, you will completely lose the things that actually matter. You have to make the active choice to put your family, your health, and your genuine passions into your jar first. You have to set your priorities, because at the end of the day, everything else is just sand. Achieving true financial peace.
Now, we take this awakened, prioritized mindset and we apply it to the one thing that causes humanity the absolute most anxiety: money. And here is a real game changer. Financial peace is not a number in your bank account. No way. It is exclusively an internal state of mind. It's all about finding coherence between your actual existence and this modern world of currency. It is the deep, profound realization that money is really nothing more than a flowing tool. It has various uses, sure, but it is not a master that you need to be afraid of, and it is definitely not a destination to be worshipped. When you finally achieve this internal state, that constant, draining, exhausting worry about bills and survival, it just stops.
Let's move to the next concept and see how this builds. Society is constantly trying to sell us on this idea of financial freedom, right? Which supposedly requires this fast physical wealth. We're talking millions of dollars, yachts, endless abundance. But Onika points us towards something so much better, and that's financial peace. To put that into perspective, you can have a farmer living super contentedly on just 4 acres of land with his family. He doesn't drive a fancy car at all, but he has achieved total, absolute financial peace. Meanwhile, you can have a corporate millionaire living in some luxury penthouse who is just stressed out of his mind, constantly terrified of losing his wealth. That guy has absolutely 0 financial peace. So the takeaway here is that peace is an achievable state of mind, completely regardless of your physical abundance. So how do we actually go about training our minds to reach this state? Well, first off, you've got to stop blaming the economy. Think about it. 2 people can face the exact same terrible economy. One just complains and stays totally stuck, while the other goes out, learns a new skill, volunteers, and gets hired. Second, you need to shift your internal dialogue. Stop asking yourself, why am I broke? And start asking, how can I earn an extra $10 today? It flips the script. Third, you must master the discipline of saving. And honestly, it does not matter how small the amount is. Saving builds up that confidence and discipline you need to finally convince your brain that you are safe. You really have to actively push your mind past that hand-to-mouth reality and instead focus purely on solutions and creation.
Which brings us right to our final thought. The knowledge is now sitting right in front of you. Yes, the path is paved with traps and thorns, but those springs of freedom are waiting for you at the end. It's time to look in the mirror. Stop waiting for some master's hand to come along and move you. So I'll leave you with this. Are you ready to finally step off the chessboard and become the true creator of your own game? Thank you so much for joining me on this Explainer. Focus learners. Now take these lessons, get out there, and go build your future.